During a morning meeting, my director interrupted me and said, "Let's have someone else handle this, she tends to ramble and miss the point." No offense, you're more of a back-end thinker anyway. The room fell silent as he chuckled and added, "She's smart, just not presentable." I smiled, closed my laptop, and said nothing. 2 hours later, I forwarded an email chain, including his comments about hiring eye candy for investors. Legal took it from there. Now I run his department. This happened about 6 months ago, and even now, thinking about it makes my hands shake, but not with anger anymore. With pride. I work in tech, mid-size company, headquartered in Austin, Texas. I'm in product strategy, specifically back-end system planning and integrations. I'm not flashy, but I know my stuff. I've led successful rollouts, saved projects from falling apart, and kept teams from burning out. I've always been the one who shows up early, stays late, and doesn't stir drama. My boss, Rick, didn't see me that way. Rick's the kind of guy who shows up loud, cracks too many jokes, talks over people, and thinks he's everyone's favorite. People laughed at his jokes, but only because he was their boss. I kept my distance. He'd never been openly rude to me before, but he'd also never really taken me seriously. That changed one Tuesday morning during our weekly leadership meeting. I had been asked to present a rollout plan for our new product initiative. I'd stayed up late the night before prepping it, running simulations, cleaning the data, cutting slides. It was solid. I even sent the deck in advance to give them time to review. At 9:02 a.m., I began my part. I didn't even get through my second slide before Rick interrupted me. "Let's have someone else handle this," he said, half laughing. I froze. "She tends to ramble and miss the point," he added, looking straight at our VP and then at the others on the Zoom call. There was a weird pause. "No offense," he continued, like that made it okay. "She's more of a back-end thinker anyway." Nobody laughed. A few people blinked and looked down. One guy shifted uncomfortably in his chair. I just sat there. But Rick wasn't done. "She's smart," he said, "just not presentable." Just like that. I looked around the table. Some looked shocked. One woman from operations mouthed, "What the F*** under her breath. But nobody said anything out loud. Not even me. I smiled. Closed my laptop. Didn't argue, didn't make a scene. Just nodded like it didn't matter. But inside, I felt something snap. Not break. Just click into place. See, Rick had sent me an email chain a week earlier by mistake. He'd CC'd me when he meant to forward it to our VP of Ops. He never realized I saw it. The subject was, investor-ready hires. Inside, Rick talked about how our team needed a more marketable look for investor meetings. His exact line, "Let's add some eye candy to the next round. Blondes or anyone who looks great in the pitch deck. The back-end people can stay in the shadows." It made me sick when I read it. But I saved it. I didn't plan to use it, until he humiliated me like that in front of everyone. So 2 hours after that meeting, I forwarded the whole chain to HR, legal, and CC'd the VP of compliance. I wrote one line, "Not sure if this aligns with our DEI and workplace ethics standards." That was it. By 4 p.m. Legal emailed me back asking for a confidential Zoom call. By the next week, Rick was on leave. I never said a word to him. I didn't ask for updates. I just did my job. Quietly. Efficiently. Like always. 3 weeks later, we had a surprise department meeting. The VP came in and said Rick had resigned to pursue new opportunities. They thanked him for his time. No farewell party. No announcement. Just, gone. A few days later, I got an invite to a private meeting with our founder. That's when everything changed. The meeting with the founder was in one of those quiet executive rooms, thick carpet, soundproof walls, no windows. He was already there when I walked in. just him. He smiled when I sat down but didn't waste time with small talk. He said, I read everything. Legal briefed me. You did the right thing. I nodded. I didn't know what to say. Then he told me they were restructuring. We need a new face for the department, he said. Someone who knows the work and doesn't play games. I thought maybe he wanted my opinion on who should take over. I was already thinking of a few names when he said, we'd like it to be you. I just stared. I know it's a lot. Take the weekend. Think about it. I didn't need the weekend. I just nodded and said, okay. They announced it that Monday. People were surprised. Some were confused. But most were supportive. Quietly supportive, though. No one said Rick's name. Not once. I started in the new role with zero transition. Rick didn't leave notes, didn't delegate anything. It was chaos for the first 2 weeks. He left behind unfinished contracts, half-baked initiatives, and a mess of angry vendors who hadn't been paid on time. But I handled it. What I didn't expect was the whispering. I'd walk into a room and feel it stop. Not just lower, stop. At first I thought it was in my head. But it kept happening. Then came the fake friendliness. People who never spoke to me before suddenly wanted to get coffee. One guy from sales asked if I wanted help learning to lead. I smiled and said no thanks. But the worst part? Rick had allies. Quiet ones. 3 of his close senior leads were still on the team. They didn't say much, but I could feel it. The tension. The loyalty they still had to him. One of them, Kara, started pushing back on everything I said. In meetings, she'd accidentally talk over me or correct me in front of others. At first I ignored it. But then she started twisting numbers in reports. She'd send drafts to the VP before running them by me. One day she even told a vendor I wasn't available for a scheduled call, then took the call herself and gave them wrong info. I pulled her into a one-on-one and asked her flat out, do you have a problem working under me? She blinked, smiled, and said, no, of course not. I just think it's a big adjustment for everyone. Right. I knew then I couldn't let it slide. I started keeping a record. Every strange edit. Every meeting she undercut me in. Every time she bypassed the chain of command. And I wasn't the only one watching. The founder had told me, quietly, keep things tight. We're not done yet. Whatever Rick left behind, it wasn't just bad management. Something else was going on. Something deeper. And I was about to find out just how dirty it got. A week later, I got an email from finance marked urgent. It was about a contract Rick had signed 6 months before he left. A consulting firm. Small. No clear deliverables listed. But the payouts were huge, 5 figures a month, wired automatically. I looked up the company name. Their website was barely functioning. No real address. No staff listed. Just a contact form and a slogan, creative growth for modern tech. I called finance. Has this firm actually done anything for us? They didn't have a clear answer. I looped in legal. Within an hour, I got a call from the internal audit team. They'd been looking into something similar, unusual vendor activity tied to Rick. This firm had cropped up on their radar too. But until I flagged the payments, they hadn't found the paper trail. Apparently, Rick had coded the payments as infrastructure strategy support. Vague enough to slide past casual review. The next day, I got another email. This one from IT. They'd found something strange in Rick's archived emails. Long chains between him and the so-called consulting firm. None of the messages used real names. Just initials. One thread even referenced keeping our talent pipeline polished, along with jokes about how much easier things go when the deck looks good. But here's the twist, Kara, the team lead who kept undercutting me, was CC'd on multiple emails. She wasn't just a passive ally. She was involved. That's when I realized this went deeper than disrespect or favoritism. There was a quiet network under Rick, side deals, shady hires, padded contracts. And now I was sitting in the chair he used to cover it all up. I scheduled a meeting with legal and the founder. I showed them everything: emails, payments, messages, vendor history. They took it seriously. Real seriously. Kara was called into HR 2 days later. She didn't come back. But before she left, she did one last thing. She sent out a company-wide email, claiming she was being forced out for standing by a respected colleague. She didn't say Rick's name, but everyone knew who she meant. It lit a firestorm. People started whispering louder. Suddenly, I wasn't just the woman who replaced Rick. I was the reason Rick and Kara were gone. It didn't help that one of the senior engineers, Brett, another of Rick's people, started acting weird. Avoiding meetings. Skipping updates. One morning, his team came to me saying they hadn't heard from him in 3 days. I checked the logs. Brett had downloaded a large batch of internal documents to an external drive the week before. I called IT. They confirmed it. We were now looking at a possible data theft. Legal moved fast. Brett was escorted out that Friday. But before he left, he sent me a message on Slack: "You'll never run this team right. You were always just Rick's shadow." That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about one man being sexist or cruel. This was a system he built, a boys' club in polos and startup shoes, hiding behind fake charm and half-smiles. And now that I was in charge, they were scrambling. But I wasn't going anywhere. They had underestimated me once. Now they were going to watch me clean house. After Brett was walked out, things got quiet, but not in a good way. I could feel the tension sitting in meetings. It was like walking through a room where everyone had just argued but no one wanted to admit it. People started pulling back. Team leads got slower with updates. Middle managers missed calls more often. One even blamed me for the changing atmosphere. I knew what they were doing. It wasn't a strike. It was sabotage by silence. So I made a choice. I went full transparency. I called an all-hands meeting, mandatory, no excuses. I stood in front of the entire department. About 60 people, half in person, the rest on Zoom. I didn't sugarcoat anything. I told them about the vendor scam. About the fake contracts. About the emails with disgusting comments. I told them there was an ongoing internal audit and that legal had found more than just bad management, there were signs of fraud. Then I said something I hadn't planned to: I was quiet when Rick humiliated me in front of this team. That won't happen again, not to me, not to any of you. If you're here to build, stay. If you're here to play games, leave. Because the game is over. The room stayed silent. Then, someone started clapping. It was Alex, from UI. One of the junior devs who Rick never bothered learning the name of. Then 2 more joined. Within seconds, the room was filled with applause. It wasn't for me, exactly. It was for the shift. Everyone had felt it. They just needed someone to name it. From that point on, things turned. HR launched a full investigation into Rick's hiring practices and team behavior. The audit went back 2 years. They found kickbacks from 2 vendors, one of them owned by Rick's brother-in-law, hidden under a shell company. He'd been siphoning money through fake consulting payments and sending kickbacks in crypto. Kara and Brett both received bonuses from the same accounts. It all tied together. The company filed a civil suit. Legal also handed parts over to the state attorney's office. Rick was served papers at his new consulting firm in Miami. Turns out he was trying to build another startup using the stolen vendor list and old client contacts. That fell apart within a month. His accounts got frozen. His house, bought with bonuses and phantom equity draws, was repossessed. The investors, the same ones he tried to impress with eye candy, all pulled out. His name became poison in the tech scene. As for Kara, she tried to spin her firing as a gender issue on LinkedIn. But the receipts were too loud. I didn't even have to respond. Others posted screenshots and facts. She deleted her account within a week. Brett? He vanished from the industry. One rumor said he took a job doing IT for a shipping company in rural Nevada. Nobody cared enough to confirm it. And me? Well, I did the job. I rebuilt the department, real hires this time. Smart, tough, collaborative people. People who didn't care what you looked like in a blazer but knew how to build something that worked. The founder gave me full control over hiring, vendors, and team structure. He even publicly apologized during our quarterly town hall, saying the company had turned a blind eye to things it should have caught. And yeah, I accepted that apology. But here's the part one didn't expect. In all that mess, I learned something about myself. Not just that I could lead, but that I should have done it sooner. That staying quiet when someone tries to humiliate you might feel safe, but silence protects the wrong people. I had let Rick talk down to me for too long. I had let people like Kara slip by with fake smiles and side whispers. That part? That was on me. But I fixed it. And I made damn sure no one like Rick will ever rise again in my department. Not on my watch. Now when I walk into that meeting room, the same one where Rick humiliated me, people sit up. They listen. Because they know. I'm not just presentable. I'm in charge.